Did you know that in 12 towns across California, homeowners are willingly giving up their properties for just $15,000? That's right, homes worth hundreds of thousands of dollars are being sold for a mere fraction of their value. It sounds insane, but it's happening right now, and there's a major twist behind it all. So what's going on here? Why would someone walk away from their family home for so little? The reason may surprise you. This isn't just a random trend. New laws are forcing homeowners into making impossible choices. These laws are part of a plan to reshape California's housing market, and they're causing huge shifts that are affecting thousands of people. Some residents are saying they have no choice but to take the money and leave, while others are in an uproar fighting back against these controversial changes. Stay with us as we dive deep into the shocking truth behind this California housing dilemma. You'll want to know exactly why this is happening and what it means for the future of homeownership in the state. Keep watching. You won't believe how this will unfold.
Number 1. The California housing crisis, a perfect storm of high costs and low supply. California has long been known for its thriving economy, gorgeous weather, and diverse communities. But beneath the surface, there's a crisis brewing. The housing shortage in California has been growing for years, and the situation is now at a breaking point. More people are moving to the state than ever before, but the supply of affordable homes simply can't keep up with the demand. In fact, California is facing one of the worst housing crises in the country, with an estimated 3.5 million more homes needed just to keep up with population growth. What does that mean for current homeowners? Well, for many, it's becoming increasingly difficult to keep up with the skyrocketing costs of owning property. Between rising property taxes, high maintenance expenses, and the growing demand for land, many are finding themselves priced out of their own homes. This puts an immense amount of financial pressure on people, especially those who've lived in their homes for decades. They feel trapped, unable to sell at a profit or find affordable alternatives, and often forced to accept offers far below their home's market value. As a result, homeowners are faced with a difficult choice: sell for a small amount now or continue struggling with mounting costs that seem impossible to overcome. The $15,000 offers being extended to homeowners in some parts of California are just one example of how desperate the situation has become. But are these offers enough to solve the crisis, or will they only add fuel to the fire, pushing more people out of their homes and communities? We put a lot of effort into bringing you the most up-to-date and insightful content, and your thoughts truly matter to us. If you've been following this issue closely or have any personal experience with California's housing market, we'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. Don't forget, subscribing is just one click away, and it helps us continue to bring you videos that matter.
Number 2. The $15,000 offer. A statewide initiative to redesign California's housing market. The $15,000 offer may seem like a strange, almost unbelievable proposition, but it's part of a statewide initiative aimed at reshaping California's housing market. Local governments in 12 towns across the state are offering homeowners this amount in exchange for their properties, regardless of the home's actual market value. While it may sound like a lowball offer, it's part of a larger plan to address the severe housing shortage by redeveloping properties and focusing on creating more affordable housing for the growing population. The initiative is part of California's broader effort to build denser communities, particularly in areas that are currently underdeveloped or have homes that are outdated. The state believes that by acquiring these homes and redeveloping them into higher density housing units, they can provide more affordable living options for residents. However, this plan isn't as simple as it sounds. While some might see it as a way to fix the housing crisis, others feel it's a government overreach, essentially pushing people out of their homes for the greater good. For many homeowners, these offers are tempting, especially given the overwhelming financial burden of property taxes and the inability to find more affordable alternatives. However, accepting $15,000 to leave behind your home, your neighborhood, and your community is no easy decision. And while the initiative might seem like a win for future residents, it raises serious concerns about the long-term effects on current residents and the communities they've built over the years.
Number 3. New laws changing the landscape. Why California is redefining homeownership. At the heart of this controversial $15,000 offer is a series of new laws that are fundamentally changing the way homeownership works in California. These laws were created as a response to the state's dire housing shortage and are designed to help increase affordable housing by acquiring land from current property owners. The goal? To transform these spaces into higher-density, affordable housing developments that can accommodate more people as California's population continues to grow. One of the most significant changes is the California Housing Opportunity and More Efficiency Act, CHOICE, which gives local governments more power to purchase properties, often without the owner's consent. This has sparked heated debates, with many residents arguing that these laws infringe on their property rights. While the state argues that these measures are necessary to tackle the housing crisis, the impact on homeowners is undeniable. Families who've lived in these areas for years or even decades are now facing the possibility of losing their homes to government intervention, sometimes for as little as $15,000. What's even more concerning is that these new laws are not only pushing homeowners out of their properties, but are also changing the landscape of entire communities. Entire neighborhoods could soon be redeveloped into dense apartment complexes, drastically altering the environment, the social fabric, and the history of the area. For many, it's a painful reality to face, saying goodbye to the place they've called home for most of their lives. These changes may be well-intentioned, but they are raising serious questions about the balance between progress and personal rights. Will these new laws ultimately solve the housing crisis, or are they setting the stage for more issues down the road? We've worked hard to bring you all the key insights on California's changing housing laws, and now we want to hear from you. Do you think these new laws are the right solution, or is there a better way forward? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Remember, subscribing is just one click, and by doing so, you'll be supporting more videos like this one, bringing you the content that's most important today. Number 4. High property taxes and rising costs. The financial pressure behind the decision. For many California homeowners, the decision to accept a $15,000 buyout offer isn't about wanting to leave their homes, it's about survival. The financial pressure that comes with owning property in California is reaching a boiling point. With rising property taxes, increased living costs, and expensive home maintenance, many people are finding it harder and harder to stay in their homes. This has led to some individuals and families accepting these low-ball offers simply because they can no longer afford to live in their own houses. California's property taxes are notoriously high, and they keep climbing, leaving many homeowners struggling to make ends meet. For older homeowners, especially those on fixed incomes, the burden of paying property taxes can become overwhelming. Couple that with the high cost of home repairs, insurance, and utilities, and it becomes clear why some residents are taking what seems like a small payout, even though their homes might be worth much more. In this context, $15,000 may seem like a way out, especially when no other viable options seem to exist. What's more concerning is the lack of affordable alternatives. With California's housing market being one of the most expensive in the nation, many homeowners who choose to sell find that there is no affordable place for them to move. This creates a vicious cycle. Homeowners feel trapped, unable to maintain their current homes due to financial constraints, and unable to find more affordable housing options. This dilemma is only exacerbated by the state's ongoing housing crisis, where the demand for housing far exceeds the available supply. For many, the $15,000 offer might seem like the only solution, but it raises an important question. Are these measures truly solving the problem, or are they merely shifting the burden? We've dedicated a lot of time and effort to dive deep into this issue, and now we want to hear from you.
Do you think high property taxes and rising costs are pushing people out of their homes, or is there more to the story? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We value your input. Subscribing is just one click, and it helps us keep bringing you the most important and insightful content. Number 5. Limited housing options. The struggle to find affordable alternatives. The decision to accept the $15,000 offer is complicated further by one major issue: the lack of affordable housing alternatives. Even if homeowners in California are willing to leave their current homes, they are often faced with a grim reality: there is simply nowhere else to go. The skyrocketing cost of real estate in the state means that finding a new home at a reasonable price is nearly impossible for many residents. The idea of relocating to a more affordable area isn't always an option either, as many people are deeply connected to their communities and jobs. California's housing market has become a battlefield, with properties being sold at prices far beyond the reach of average working families. For many, especially those who have lived in the state for years or even decades, the dream of buying a home has become a distant memory. Even those with modest incomes often face bidding wars and inflated prices, driving the cost of housing out of reach. This leaves many with no choice but to accept a financial deal that is far below the value of their homes, simply because they know they cannot afford a new place. Moreover, many of the redeveloped areas in California are not focused on creating new, affordable homes for the people who are being displaced. Instead, there's a growing trend of luxury developments that cater to higher-income individuals, leaving the original residents with few options. The promise of affordable housing is often overshadowed by the reality that the new projects don't meet the needs of the very people who were forced out in the first place. In the end, the lack of affordable alternatives is one of the driving forces behind homeowners accepting these offers, despite knowing it isn't the ideal solution. They're stuck between a rock and a hard place, with limited options for both staying in their homes and finding affordable replacements. We've spent a lot of time digging into these complex issues, and now we want to hear from you. Do you think the lack of affordable housing options is the real reason behind the $15,000 offers, or is something else at play? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And remember, subscribing is just one click, and it helps us continue bringing you the content that matters.
Number 6. Community pushback and protests. A growing resistance to forced sales. As more homeowners face the reality of accepting the $15,000 offer, a strong wave of resistance is growing in California. Protests and community backlash have become a common sight in many of the towns where this program is being implemented. People are upset, and they have every reason to be. For many, their homes are not just buildings, they are the heart of their communities, places where they've raised families, built relationships, and invested their lives. The idea of being forced out for such a low amount has sparked outrage, and residents are making their voices heard in ways that can't be ignored. A lot of the anger stems from the lack of choice in the matter. These homeowners are being asked to leave their properties not because they want to sell, but because new state laws are pushing them to do so. People who've worked hard to afford their homes, paid taxes, and followed the rules suddenly find themselves at the mercy of a system that seems to value development over their lives and their histories. The protests aren't just about money, they're about rights. Homeowners feel like they're being pushed out without adequate compensation or consideration for their emotional connection to the place they call home. Some residents argue that this initiative is nothing more than a government power grab, while others fear that their communities will lose their unique identities in favor of cookie-cutter apartment buildings and corporate development projects. These concerns have led to organized protests, petitions, and calls for government accountability. While the state argues that these laws are necessary to combat the housing crisis, the protests show that not everyone agrees with the approach. The battle for California's future is taking place not only in the legal courts, but on the streets, where passionate citizens are standing up for their right to stay. We've worked hard to bring you a comprehensive look at the pushback against these new policies, and we want to know, what's your take? Do you think the protests are justified, or do you believe the state's approach is necessary? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And remember, subscribing is just one click and it helps us bring you more content like this. Don't miss out.
Number 7. Long-term effects on property values. What does this mean for homeowners? One of the most concerning aspects of California's new housing policies and the $15,000 buyout offers is the impact on property values. Homeowners in the affected towns are facing plummeting property values as a result of these government programs. As the threat of government intervention looms, many buyers are becoming wary of purchasing homes in areas that could soon be targeted for redevelopment. This uncertainty creates a ripple effect, causing home values to decrease across the board. Even those who choose not to sell are seeing their homes depreciate in value because of the looming risk of a forced sale. For homeowners who have invested years of hard work and financial resources into their properties, this is a devastating blow. They can no longer rely on their homes as secure assets for their future, whether they want to sell or use the property for retirement income. The idea of building wealth through real estate is being undermined by the fear that their homes could be taken from them at any moment for far less than they're worth. In an already volatile housing market, this creates an atmosphere of uncertainty, leaving many families unsure about their financial futures. As these laws are rolled out and more homes are acquired by the state, the long-term effects could be far-reaching. What happens to the rest of California's housing market if this becomes the new norm? How many people will be impacted as more properties are forced into redevelopment? These are the questions that remain unanswered, but the potential for widespread financial damage is real, and homeowners are feeling the effects now. We've put a lot of time and research into bringing you the long-term consequences of these policies, and now we want to know what you think. Are you concerned about the future of property values in California, or do you think this is a necessary step? Drop your comments below and share your perspective. Subscribing is just one click, and it helps us continue delivering content that matters to you.
Number 8. The push for affordable housing. Will these laws solve the crisis or create more problems? The goal of California's new housing initiatives is to address the state's severe housing crisis by increasing the availability of affordable housing. The idea is that by acquiring homes through state programs, local governments can tear down older structures and replace them with more densely populated buildings, thereby creating more affordable housing units for residents. But while the intentions are clear, the question remains, will these new laws actually solve the housing problem, or will they just add another layer of complications to an already complex issue? On paper, the plan sounds promising, especially when we consider the fact that California has long struggled with one of the highest homelessness rates in the nation, along with rising rental costs. The state is facing a severe shortage of affordable housing, and these measures are seen as an attempt to rectify that imbalance. However, critics argue that these laws are too focused on development and not enough on equitable solutions for those who are most in need. Rather than focusing on maintaining and supporting existing communities, some believe that these laws disproportionately benefit developers and wealthier residents while further displacing low-income homeowners. Additionally, there's the question of whether this approach will truly increase the stock of affordable housing or simply create more expensive luxury apartment buildings. California's housing market is already notoriously overpriced, and many fear that these redeveloped areas will become just another place for the wealthy to settle, further driving up costs for everyone else. Will these laws lead to a more affordable future for Californians, or will they simply perpetuate the cycle of housing inequality? We've worked hard to unpack both sides of this important issue, and now it's your turn to weigh in. Do you think California's push for affordable housing will actually solve the crisis, or do you see it creating more problems in the long run? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We value your insights.
And remember, subscribing is just one click, and it helps us bring you more in-depth content like this.
Number 9. The mental and emotional impact what homeowners are going through. The financial and logistical challenges homeowners in California are facing due to the state's new housing laws and $15,000 buyout offers go beyond just dollars and cents. For many, the emotional and psychological toll of losing their homes is just as significant. Homes aren't just places to live, they are the heart of people's lives, filled with memories, milestones, and a sense of stability. Being asked to sell for a fraction of the home's value, especially under the pressure of government-imposed laws, brings about a huge emotional burden for homeowners who may feel forced out of their own lives. Many homeowners feel a deep sense of loss, not only financially, but also emotionally. For individuals who spent years, sometimes decades, building their lives in a particular community, the thought of leaving everything behind can be devastating. Family traditions, personal milestones, and community ties are all wrapped up in the places they've called home. When these homeowners are told they have to move, it isn't just a physical relocation, it's a complete disruption of their lives. The stress of this upheaval can lead to anxiety, depression, and a feeling of helplessness. In addition to personal emotional strain, the decision to leave a home also affects families and neighborhoods. Children, for instance, might be uprooted from schools and friends, and parents can feel guilty about disrupting their children's lives. The social fabric of these neighborhoods is also torn apart as long-standing residents are pushed out in favor of newer, often wealthier populations. It's a scenario that forces people to confront the harsh reality that their community may no longer be their own. This human aspect of the crisis is often overlooked in discussions about policy and development, but it's crucial to recognize the mental toll that these forced sales are taking on California residents. We've taken the time to highlight the emotional challenges homeowners are facing in this situation, and now we want to hear from you. How do you think this situation is affecting the people involved? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear your perspective. And remember, subscribing is just one click, and it helps us continue producing thoughtful, in-depth content for you.
Number 10. The future of California's housing market. What lies ahead? As California continues to navigate its housing crisis, the future of its housing market is anything but certain. The state is grappling with an ongoing battle between affordable housing needs, the interests of developers, and the rights of current homeowners. The $15,000 buyout offers, along with new laws that enable government intervention, represent just the beginning of what could be a massive transformation of California's residential landscape. But will these measures truly solve the state's problems, or will they create new ones? Experts predict that in the short term, homeowners who accept these buyouts will likely see little relief from the housing crisis. In fact, the lack of affordable replacement options could cause many to face even greater challenges. Those displaced by these initiatives may find themselves struggling to find new housing that doesn't come with skyrocketing costs. For those who choose to stay and resist the offers, the uncertainty surrounding property values and the fear of future government intervention could create a stagnant housing market. Looking further into the future, the state's aggressive push for redevelopment and high-density housing could result in a transformation of neighborhoods across California. While these developments may help accommodate growing populations, they might also shift the character of communities, potentially displacing even more residents who can no longer afford to live there. The broader question remains, will the state's housing policies lead to greater affordability and equity, or will they further perpetuate the gap between rich and poor? As California faces these challenges, the decisions made today will shape the housing market for years to come. The question is, will these laws bring real solutions, or will they make the problem worse in the long run? We've worked hard to explore what the future holds for California's housing market, and now we want to know what you think. Do you believe these policies will lead to a better housing situation, or do you see them causing more problems in the future? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective. And don't forget, subscribing is just one click, and it helps us continue delivering the content that matters to you.
California's housing crisis is not just a financial issue, it's a human issue that's impacting families, communities, and the very fabric of the state. With the new laws offering $15,000 buyouts to homeowners, the state is trying to address its severe housing shortage. But at what cost? While the intention is to provide more affordable housing, the reality for many homeowners is that they're being forced into difficult decisions, leaving behind homes filled with memories and relocating to areas that might not offer the stability they once had. As we've seen, these new laws are pushing property values down, creating uncertainty for homeowners, and leaving many people feeling as though their homes and their futures are no longer in their control. The emotional and mental toll of losing a home isn't something that can be easily measured in dollars and cents. It's something that affects individuals, families, and entire communities. But as much as these changes are challenging, they also serve as a stark reminder of just how broken California's housing system is. If these buyout programs and laws are part of a larger plan to fix the crisis, then California's leaders must do more to ensure that displaced homeowners have viable options. Affordable housing isn't just about increasing supply, it's about ensuring that current residents are protected and supported through this process. As we look to the future, the real question remains: will these policies provide lasting solutions to California's housing challenges, or will they simply create new problems for the very people they're meant to help? Only time will tell.